The views and opinions expressed on Real Talk with Horace Sheffield are not those of WADL TV 38 or Adele Broadcasting Corporation.
Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, Detroit. This is real talk, real talk, real talk. Real issues straight from the heart. Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, Detroit. This is real talk, real talk, real talk.
This is our Detroit Votes national call. We thank God for all the folks who are on. Martin, what is the most egregious, abominable, aggravating aspect of this current administration?
I would have to concur, with the attorney, because because I was going to basically say the same thing. You know, when you've got healthcare coming up, when you've got women's rights, when you've got so many things, voter suppression issues. This court, it's a similar court that actually elected President Bush, if you remember, 500 votes that Gore and Bush were separated from in the state of Florida, and the court came in and decided. So this is very dangerous. The other thing is that is the only thing that is there for 40, 50 years. These justices, 30, a generation or two. And I don't know that's why we've got to have Biden, Harris, and others elected in the United States Senate so that we can begin to change some of these things that if they get to the courts, they'll be turned back. That's probably the most important. And that probably should be the most important why people should understand why elections matter. They may not still understand. I don't understand how you can't see it when you see a Supreme Court that is probably, I don't know that anything can stop this train being 6-3.
Yeah. So Nina, so here's what I say on the radio all the time, that I would, if I would vote for anybody that was running against Trump except Satan himself. And in that race, I just wouldn't vote at all. Go right ahead. You want to tell us? I mean, you've been out there stomping. You've been, all across this country. I mean, what kind of damage has this man done?
Yeah, I've been to almost 50 states. I think 47, 48 states in the last 5 years. Like touched down in those states, not just reading about them, but have been there. I think the greatest damage that President Trump has done is he suffocated the spirit and the lifeblood and the imagination of this country. And that's going to last a lot longer than his presidency. We were already a fractured nation before he got there. And I want to put a finer point on that, because as abominable as he is, the stressors of racism and white supremacy and anti-Blackness and sexism and ageism and all the isms that are negative were already there. I don't believe you can pull up what's not there already. And so we need a real truth and reconciliation in this country, that the suffering of folks, they were suffering before the pandemic. The pandemic just wiped away all the illusion that people wanted to be delusional and live in an illusion that folks were not already poor. There are about 140 million people who are living in poverty or low wage jobs and cannot make ends meet in the United States of America. That did not happen overnight. So I agree with a point that my sister Erica brought up earlier, which is what is going to happen beyond President Donald J. Trump. It's one thing to vote him out, and we must slay, as I say, the dragon of neo-fascism, first things first, and then the dragon of neoliberalism. However, President Donald Trump is going to have an impact on this nation for a very long time, and we are going to need to go into a real spiritual awakening that's not necessarily rooted in any one person's religion, but something that deeply guides the moral fabric of this nation. We're going to need some healing way beyond him, because we got to deal with what was before President Trump, and we're going to have to deal with what is after President Donald J. Trump.
What he's done may even require more than the blood of Jesus. Let's go to Eric. I'm not even sure the blood can excoriate what this man has done. Erica Alexander, you're up next.
I'm particularly offended by the amount of ignorance that is on display every day and cowardice. from people who were supposed to protect the country. When he can go and call people who have died, soldiers, losers and suckers, I don't know where those people are that said that they stand for something that can actually back a person like that. I find it horrendous that they could put children in cages as well, and also lose children in the United States and America and say we will not be able to reunite them because we don't know who they are. I actually I lose it, and because I go, who are these people? It's like the Gotham City players rose out of the orcs bed of Lord of the Rings, and we can't get rid of them. But and I'm Frodo. I'm getting ready to throw that ring into the fire pit. I mean, I really am.
And
Me. I hate ignorance. I hate the stupidity that's on display.
And to Nina's point, and Shay's going to ask a question. I mean, what really bothers me is that it's become normal. People aren't even affected anymore by some things that are just egregious and appalling. To Shay.
No.
Okay, so for my next question, so in North Carolina, they're currently facing the issue of the Black vote being suppressed. So people are doing these mail-in ballots, and it's been all in the media and in the news. People are doing the mail-in ballots, and the ballots are potentially being rejected or flagged for rejection. And I'm sure that it's not just North Carolina, but it's other states across the nation as well. So what would your recommendation be to people as far as the way they vote? So you have, the three options. You can mail in your ballot. You can go to your, city clerk's office and, physically vote there, or you can vote on actual election day. Do you all have any recommendations as to how people are voting or any advice in that area?
Yeah, so I'll go first on this one. So North Carolina has about 7 million registered voters, and as of today, about 800,000 of them have voted, which is an enormous amount when you think about it. And it's been split pretty evenly between mail-in and in-person early voting. My own view is in-person early voting is better than mail-in. That way you know your vote has been counted. You are there in person casting your vote. Respect to the rejection of these mail-in ballots, this is not unique to North Carolina. This is happening in many other states as well for the most minor of alleged violations. And this is a continuing campaign of voter suppression. And what we can do about it is understand it's there, push back against it, and make sure we go vote in person.
Eddie?
Yes, sir. We've basically been preaching that same sermon. In fact, we put the program together 10-20-20. We advised anybody who had not already voted by October the 20th, which is today, to not put your ballot in the mail. Take it to a drop box, take it to a satellite voting center if you have one, or take it to a clerk's office. So we've been pushing that message that you've got to physically do one of those things, or make yourself a plan to vote on November 3rd. So and the other thing that we're really pushing, Rev, is to let everybody know that November 3rd is not the election day. That's not the beginning of the election. It's the end of the election. People are voting now. So now is the election. From now to November 3rd.
You talk about the drop boxes. Talk about that real quick, because we're seeing that they're creating fake drop boxes. Last night on national news, they're burning drop boxes.
Yes, sir.
So I would think then that the best thing to do is to take it to the official election commission, right?
That's it, unless you're actually going to one of the drop boxes that's in a secured location. Some of them are 24/7 with cameras on them inside buildings. Let
me get Erica. She's over there just grimacing, and I don't want to lose that sentiment.
That's been particularly hard to see them actually take mailboxes off the street and destroy all the sorting machines. I think it's disgusting. I think people need to treat this like a tailgating party. Get your umbrella, your food, your chair, your a couple of bottles, one that's empty so you can urinate in it, and think of it as an all-day affair. For some people, it may be that way. I'm in California. We happen to be doing it really wonderfully here so far. They have had fake boxes and have been suing people for them, and also all sorts of other issues. but for the most part, we can track our ballots from the beginning to the end, and that has helped a lot. I'm sorry for all the people going through their problems, but you know what? Gear up, gear up.
I like that idea. I'm gonna take that bottle that you pee in and sprinkle on the folks who show up as militia. Martin, huh?
Bomb at them.
Yeah, you'll have the DNA proof that they were the ones that impeded you to vote. Martin.
Look, I think probably the safest thing in terms of the vote getting counted and secured is for those who can, to actually physically go and vote. I don't know that we can trust the mail because the system has been contaminated. I do know in Georgia, as I said, we've had a heavy turnout, and it's still, we've had, I want to say 1.5 million folks that have voted in Georgia, which is strong since we've been voting now. This is going into the second week, and that's unheard of. So I think that we have to use everything that is at our disposal, but for those who can and who are willing to stand in line and social distance, I think that's the best way to go to make sure that our votes are counted, because the other ways, it's just it's a long fight with a short stick. But my sense, I think, one of the most egregious things that I heard was what happened in the state of Texas. In Harris County, the largest county, which of course is where Houston is in the state, I think you've got 7 million voters. And now you can come and do early voting and several other ways to vote, but there's one box in every county. There used to be 11. And the governor, it's just kind of perplexing to me. I don't want to say anything bad about the man, but I think he's in a wheelchair. He's disabled, I believe.
Yeah.
At least I've seen him in a wheelchair. So how can you be disabled and then automatically not have sensitivity for everyone and decide that you're just going to create? Now, of course, the courts, I believe it's in the courts now, and I believe that one judge said that they couldn't do it. Then it went to another level of court, and they're saying that it can be done. I'm not sure exactly where it is right now, but that's the kind of thing. There are all kinds of techniques that are being used. I'll give another example that has nothing to do with this, but in the state of Florida, 2 years ago, they voted for felons to be able to be reinstated and to be able to go out and vote. So as a result, you have a number of folks who, have gotten out of jail, paid their debt to society. But then the state decided to put a poll tax in place and say, okay, if you hadn't paid your debt to society, to the court system, you still can't vote. Now, how do you do that when we know people are just getting out of jail? There are no jobs. It's almost like all over again, we're repeating history. Fortunately, Michael Bloomberg and a number of others, I think a couple of athletes as well as entertainers, came together and raised millions of dollars, and some of those fines have been paid off. But now the state is saying, well, we're going to investigate that to see if that's wrong, if that's wrongdoing. It's crazy. These people are doing all they can to keep us from voting. And for those who don't believe voting is important, the thing that we all say is, then why are they fighting so hard to keep you from voting if your vote does not count? That's the question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into the next question. What are some of the barriers that are preventing people from voting?
We got to make sure that people have to definitely stay safe and take care of themselves. COVID is real. We know the number of deaths that have happened in the United States of America, the number of people who contracted this. So safety is first, because we need people to be healthy and to feel as though they can definitely go to vote, but they got to do it safely. That is vitally important. So many people are suffering right now. And the weight of the heaviness that is being exacerbated by COVID, on one hand, you got this political arena that is horrible. And then you got COVID on the other hand. This is really a lot for people to deal with, which leads me to my last point. Elections do matter, and all elections matter. When I was listening to my sisters and brothers answer the last round of questions, it is about who is the Secretary of State. in these states?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the members of the legislature in these states? Who's the governor in those states? When MLK III was talking about Florida, well, that is a Republican governor. And if Democrats were suppressing the vote, I would say the same thing. We had an incidence of that in the primary in New York at the hands of Governor Cuomo, but I digress. All I'm saying is that we need to be standing up for what is right, just, and good. And I come from, when Brother Malcolm X said, I'm for what's right, no matter who is for or who it is against. We need the leaders in this country, but we elect the leaders. And so I want people to be reminded that the power is really theirs and it is in their hands. It is a disservice to this representative democracy, the way that we idolize politicians and we're looking for rock stars. No, we're looking for public servants. And the power belongs to the people, and the people loan us that power for a finite amount of time to do their bidding. The tax dollars, those are our dollars, not their dollars. So when people are up there pontificating about what they are going to do and what they are not going to do with our tax dollars, there is something wrong with that. So this whole notion of what should happen in this representative democracy, we got to revisit that and revisit that hard. Once we take care of business, what we have to do in 2020, to me, the real deep other work absolutely begins in the United States of America, and we can't let people forget it. When it comes to the Supreme Court, absolutely, but let us not forget, there are other levels of below the Supreme Court where the president has the authority to make appointments, and those are lifetime appointments too. Most cases never make it to the United States Supreme Court. So we need to worry about who's being appointed to the Court of Appeals, who's being appointed to the district courts. Those are lifetime appointments as well. So we have so much work to do, so much education of our people to do, but there is absolutely promise in this problem. And I do believe that we can surmount these challenges.
My dad took me everywhere, and there was a speech by James Farmer at TULC, which was the A. Philip Randolph House here in Detroit, and it was Black trade unionist, Nina, and he gave a talk on what is politics. Now, I don't remember most of the speech, but there's one thing that he said that I never forgot. This is James Farmer. He said, politics is the most mundane art. Who gets what and how much? And anyone who doesn't vote lets someone else decide what they don't have. My last question is, why don't people still see in our community, when they say voting doesn't matter, a direct correlation between who sits in these seats of power, food stamps, all of these things are affected by policies made by people who may have a different point of view completely than ours. So anybody, one or two of you, then we're gonna, and let me give this other question someone asked, which is a good one. You can either answer that or this one. What are we doing to engage the homeless in this election season? Anybody want to jump in? Go right ahead.
Well, I think on the first question, I would say, and it's unfortunate that people view politics through the lens of their own lives. And so when they're not where they think they should be, when they are not who they think they should be, and they don't see things changing for them, they don't see the necessity in voting. And to me, that is one of to the earlier question, that is one of the largest barriers to voting. It's how people think about the importance of it and how it will impact their daily lives. So we have to link for them possible change with Biden-Harris, with their voting, to how we can improve their lives with employment, with better education, lower taxes, so forth and so on. The other thing I say very quickly is that one of the other things is get confused. Trump came out with this platinum plan for African Americans. Now, the notion that 2 weeks before an election, he's going to give you 500,000 new businesses, a commitment of $500 billion in investment and so forth and so on. You'd have to be a fool to believe that's actually going to happen when he's had 4 years to do it and he hasn't done much of anything. But we get caught up in these kinds of things because it's the next shiny thing. And we just got to push back against that. If he hasn't passed healthcare reform, he certainly isn't going to be giving African Americans anything that he hasn't given us over the past 4 years.
And the devil's going to have Arctic cool air conditioning in hell real soon too. If you don't want to answer that question, let me bring Lori. Lori, are you there? How do we bring Lori in? Lori works with. Okay, where is she at? There she is. We're gonna allow her to talk. We have a lot of, and I've been dealing with it here at our agency, people who are disabled. And we had a conference call today for veterans who are homeless. And Lori, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here.
Lori wants to ask a question of you guys about how this election impacts those who are disabled. Go right ahead, Lori.
Well, as the executive director of the Disability Network, I am charged with being that voice and that advocate for individuals with disabilities. And right now, we have over 35 million age voting individuals with disabilities that are in America. And with the changeover to protect the cyber corruption that was done in 2016, we've gone to paper ballots. And people with disabilities are truly being blocked from voting. And that's just something that we need to dig deeper into as Americans, because when you're not providing individuals with access to vote, when you're not providing them with the tools and the devices that they need to vote, that's almost like you're violating a person's constitutional rights. So I think that, we're talking about the need to vote, but when you have individuals that are being denied the access to vote, that's a bigger problem.
Eddie, I think you should tackle that one first, since you're a person intimately involved in the voting process.
Yes, we've been working on that probably all across across Michigan for sure. I believe probably maybe about a month ago now, I think Beverly Hilton may have reached out to Miss Lori Hill Sanders, and because she brought information back to me about the number of folks who were just totally disenfranchised, not able to vote for any number of reasons. But a couple of other reasons that were laid out, Bishop, was the fact that our facilities are not ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Even if some of those folks wanted to vote, they can't get their wheelchair through some of those old doors in the schools. Some of the other buildings, the doors are so heavy that even if they can maneuver up to the door, they can't maneuver the wheelchair and open the door and able to go in and vote. And then the other thing that was really missing is the opportunity for these same individuals to apply themselves to take some of these jobs. We're talking about thousands of jobs that were being handed out from September the 5th, clean through election day. Some in the clerk's office, some to get staged for election day facilities, and totally had left the disability community out of the loop until we started making some calls. And they're still not where it needs to be right now. But that is a very, very serious thing. It's a serious group. They need to be brought in. We need to avail them of the same rights and privileges that all the rest of us have.
So this is an area that I think we've got to improve in, because the Republicans know how to get wet out of water.
Yeah.
And we've got to do a better job of making certain that those who would probably be a part of our base have access. What we're gonna do now is open up for some questions. Those of you who are there, and I'm gonna ask Shayla to moderate this, because I'll be commenting on every question myself. But if you're an attendee, you can wave and let us know, and parents can let you in, and you can ask your question. Anyone?
You can drop your questions into the Q&A chat as well.
Yeah, if you don't want to personally ask the questions, you can put it in the Q&A. While we're waiting on that, does Shayla got any more questions?
So what can you all give some words of encouragement to the person who has been waiting in line for 5 hours and they're tempted to leave and not vote? What word of encouragement can you give them?
Anybody? Just unmute
Like,
your mic
I've
and
read
talk.
things about, I know in Atlanta, there's been, lines of 10 hours of people that are waiting. And, some are super passionate and they're like, posted, they're waiting. And then I'm sure others are leaving as well too.
Well, we've been working with the faith-based community, the Divine Nine, and any other number of organizations to set up hospitality zones. So all of those folks that are waiting in line, we're going to do our best to make sure that they're taken care of, that they're fed, that they have water, they have anything they need. We even have what's called line monitors. So if you need to go and take care of some business, we've got young folks who are willing to hold your place in line while you can go and take care of your business and then come back. So we're having those type of conversations now, because although we know the votes are coming in pretty good, there's still a lot of people in Detroit and other places that don't want to do anything but vote on election day. So we're going to do all we can to make sure it's as comfortable for them as possible to take care of business. The other thing that we're doing with the clerks, because we don't know what the weather is going to be like, we've asked the clerks to reconfigure the lines inside the building. We talk about Disneyland lines where you've got the turnstiles where people can be inside, out of the elements. We've asked them to do that.
And I'm excited about what we can do, but we have to get there. We have to vote.
Just very quickly, Reverend Sheffield, and back to the point about voting with disabilities, just very quickly. I think this is an issue that artificial intelligence can certainly help us solve. When we have facial recognition technology, we certainly could expand that technology to allow people not only with disabilities, but who are elderly.
Is Lisa there?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Hi,
Good
Lisa.
evening to the panel. Thank you, Reverend Sheffield, for sponsoring this forum. It's such a pleasure to be here. Lisa Franklin, and I am the CEO and founder of Warriors on Wheels of Metropolitan Detroit. And we're a nonprofit organization for people with disabilities, of people with disabilities. And thank you for all of you who stated that there is need for advocacy for people with disabilities in this country. As Lori said, there's over 30 million people with disabilities, and those are just the adults. Those are just people of voting age. In the city of Detroit right now, Warriors on Wheels, along with the ACLU, Detroit Bus Company, Detroit Pistons organization, are sponsoring a Get Out to Vote initiative. We are actually going to people's homes, picking them up and taking them to the polling places. It started today.
Voting does matter. Thank all of you for participating. I love each and every one of you, and God bless you and take care of yourselves, and I wish you much success.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available. If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. You can also email our office at taxinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990. I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available.
You can pay online by visiting the Wayne County Treasurer's Office website. Paying online is easy and convenient.
You can also download the mobile app and pay with your smartphone.
You can pay at one of 70 kiosks located throughout Wayne County.
And yes, you can always still send in your payments using the U.S. Postal Service.
If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. Your health and safety is very important to us. You can also email our office at taxinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990.
Walk down this path through Detroit. This is real talk.